When did a company's product promotion go horribly wrong? Apple loading the new U2 album onto every iPhone without anyone's consent. And at first you couldn't believe it? Barnes & Noble last year ran a Black History Month thing. They printed copies of public domain classic works of English language literature with front covers depicting the protagonist as black. Frankenstein's monster had an afro. Dorothy wore red Air Jordans. Thankfully it was cancelled before it went live, because nothing says fighting racism like stereotypes. Coca-Cola had a promo in Canada where random French and English words were printed under the cap. They stopped it after a lady got the words "you" and "retard," which is French for late. I love to imagine this as a bit of unironic honesty. Supposedly, some company, edit, Purdue, had the slogan, "It takes a tough man to make a tender chicken." When this was translated for advertising in another language, edit, billboards in Mexico, the meaning was altered to, "It takes a hard man to make a chicken aroused." Subway Gerard was actually into kids. My GF took a photo with him when he visited her school to talk to the kids. Her mom still has it somewhere. She still shudders a bit at the thought of posing with him as a child. I can't wait for Kylie Jenner to give a Coke to a BLM protest police officer. Hashtag Coke and Pepsi stand for whatever buy our diabetes water. Speaking of beatus water and promotions going tits up. That time Pepsi advertised you could buy a Harrier jet if you saved up enough points from the promotion. They also sold points. So some guy just bought a shitload and then tried to claim his jet. There was a lawsuit and everything. A lawsuit over military equipment that involves a company that sells sugar. Name something more American. IIRC. Pepsi was let off the hook because no one could reasonably expect to win a fighter jet. I feel like that judge should lose their America card. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want a fighter jet? Fuck yo Bentley. I got a Harrier. American Airlines had a program called Air Pass. The deal was you bought lifetime membership for $250,000 United States dollars. In $1,981. And you got unlimited first-class travel for life. It's the kind of scheme you come up when you just want some cash in the bank right away. The problem is that people ended up using it a lot. Two pass holders, Stephen Rothstein and Jacques Broom, were costing the airline about $1 million United States dollars every year. It was an unmitigated disaster for the airline. I recall that another airlines, Delta or Pan Am, had a similar pass, but it was good for a year. Unlimited flying. My grandparents bought two and we didn't see them for a whole year but got lots of postcards from their year-long travel. This was late 70s or early 80s. My memory is hazy. When Coca-Cola tried to sell bottled tap water in the UK with the slogans "full of spunk" and "can't live without spunk." Spunk is a British word for "coup monsieur." This was made even more hilarious by the fact that all of the ads featured models splashing it on themselves, and featured quotes about enjoying it at home, in the gym, at work or in between. Spunk is not just a British word for coup monsieur, but the bottled water fiasco was made worse by two things. First off, after it emerged that Dasani wasn't spring water but was instead tap water that was remineralized, the Food Standards Agency launched an official investigation, which found that the Dasani brand contained unsafe levels of bromate, a substance believed to cause cancer. Second was that the exact same circumstances was the plot to an episode of Only Fools and Horses over a decade prior, so people started taking the piss even more than without. When Mountain Dew held sweepstakes to decide the name of a new flavor and the winner was Hitler. Did nothing wrong. Gushing Granny should have won. Susan Boyle's album party promotions. Hashtag #Susan album party. Say what you will, but everybody knew about Sus' new bum parts. Sorry album, new album monsieur. Fire Festival. While the promotional content in of itself was beautifully done, it didn't at all reflect the actual conditions that were on the island. It was just a total disaster. The promotional content kept going despite the founders knowing full well that what they advertised was unachievable. Both Netflix and Hulu had docs made about it, each are definitely worth a watch if still available. WKRP throwing free turkeys from a helicopter was definitely traumatic. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. When DiGiorno's Pizza misunderstood the hashtag Why I Stayed tag, meant for victims of domestic abuse, and used it to promote their pizza. Hashtag Why I Stayed. The pizzas were so good. Blizzards, what? Don't you guys have cell phones? Moment was a monumental fuck up. So was the initial Xbox One reveal. Wait, what was the thing about cell phones? I don't remember hearing about that. The Titanic's owners advertising it as unsinkable would have to rank up there for sure. Activision thought it was a good idea to live tweet a fake terrorist attack in Singapore to promote the release of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. It went as well as you'd imagine. Wait, what the fuck? How have I never heard of this? That's insane. In January, the fast fashion giant H&M released an image on its website of a young African-American child modeling a green sweatshirt that included the slogan, "Coolest monkey in the jungle." Customers were outraged, and Twitter users called the company out for its lack of cultural sensitivity. I don't in any way mean this as a defense for the ad, but I gotta say it's sad that due to the state of the world a kid can't wear a shirt with what may be his favorite animal because racism is still a thing. If I remember correctly, Coca-Cola had an ad in Germany for fauna which referred to the 1940s as the good old days. Quote, "How on earth does an advertising campaign get that far without anyone saying, 'Hold up a sec'? I'm in the industry and I'll tell you how.'" Higher-ups, clients who flat out refuse to listen and think they've stumbled upon something golden. Years ago, Red Lobster had an all-you-can-eat crab legs promo. And when they were estimating how much crab legs the average customer would consume, they figured about 2 pounds per person averaged out, and boy, were they ever off. Anybody who knows anything about seafood will tell you that 2 lbs of crab legs is not really a whole lot since the majority of that weight is from the shells. So their miscalculation ended up costing them millions of dollars in losses literally overnight, since customers were consuming more like double that amount and more. Another factor is that the market price for crab varies according to how the harvest season is, like how the stock market works, which happened to be not so great that particular year and cost the company way more than normal, which also had a serious effect on their losses. Needless to say, the genius behind that great idea was ship canned and probably used for crab bait to try to recover some losses. Tack onto the, pun intended, cluster FXCK that was Chesapeake Bay Seafood House ran an all-you-can-eat buffet that included crab legs and Dungeness crab clusters. They figured based on pricing more like 3 pounds per person. The actual meat content of snow and Dungeness crab is more like 40% of weight. I managed to take down 6 pounds of meat, 15 pounds raw, in 3 hours sitting. After the first hour and a half, they passive-aggressively stopped clearing plates from my table. Around 2 hours mark, the staff avoided the section I was sitting in entirely. At the end of the 3rd hour, the manager let me know that they would have to stop serving me and could I please leave? No problem. Thanks for picking up my tab. Quote, based on wholesale market price at the time, I'd consumed $90 worth of product, and I was not the only one taking advantage. TL. Doctor, don't advertise Ace crab legs unless you know how much to charge. Oh my god. Who else remembers when Pepsi gave Diddy a bunch of money to come up with a new slogan and he comes back with brown and bubbly? Like, was there one single person on earth who didn't immediately think of diarrhea? Me. Quiznos and the ad with rats. There was a local block party thing called Big Sunday. They screened and printed hundreds and hundreds of shirts for promotion with the words, "It's big." It's coming. This probably would have been a funny campaign had they intended it to be ironic. In the 90s there was a video game set in New York being developed. They had problems with memory, so they decided to delete the World Trade Center out of the game and claimed that it was destroyed by terrorists in the storyline. Then 9/11 happened. McDonald's advertised the Arch Deluxe meant to cater to an older demographic by having a commercial with a kid looking at the sandwich and going, "I don't get it." Everyone was like, "Good point. Neither do we," and the Arch Deluxe bombed and the executives behind it fired. There was a lot more to its failure, but I love that one. They advertised against their own product. When everybody thought that Barnes & Noble cafes were Starbucks locations because of their huge Starbucks signs, resulting in lots of angry customers because they couldn't use their Starbucks cards and rewards at a place that looked just like a real Starbucks. Starbucks has had this problem for a long time, not wanting to miss out on any money ever. They let people sell their products or open Starbucks franchises in bookstores, grocery stores, strip malls, etc. The franchise gets to play by their own rules more or less, although they've brought the standards much closer in the last several years, and can sell different things or refuse certain promotions. The truly messed up thing is that if the franchise is doing really well, Starbucks will open a corporate store nearby, often less than a block away, to take their business. That's where the Starbucks on every corner thing started. I laughed when Starbucks opened a corporate store 2 doors down from a grocery store in my area that had its own Starbucks inside. But then that corporate Starbucks shop ended up going out of business, while the one inside the grocery store is still doing just fine. Hooters 10-cent beer night in the 1970s in Cleveland. What a fucking shit show. Had nothing to do with Hooters, but yes, it was a disaster. When KFC stores first opened up in Japan, their slogan, "Finger licking good," was wrongly translated into, "We will bite your fingers off." Virgin tried to get a Photoshop forum to invent some adverts for the monsieur they then pulled out less than 8 hours later due to massive amount of negative images that were created. The competition kept going for a week. During the PS3 era, Sony had a famous ad campaign involving a character called Kevin Butler, a Sony VP who would be asked by fans about upcoming products and deals, such as the PlayStation Move and the Vita. Butler even appeared on stage at E3 one year. The ads were widely praised, especially since they were vastly different from the earlier PS3 ads, which went into horrific mind-bender territory. Baby doll. Anyone? However, the ads were abruptly pulled and the Kevin Butler campaign cancelled after Jerry Lambert, the actor who played Butler, appeared in an ad for Bridgestone tires playing Mario Kart on the Wii. Sony were furious that Lambert advertised a competitor's product as the face of their brand and took him to court in response. Similarly, Sony pulled a new Japanese market ad less than a day after the internet saw it, after it was found that the animator hired to make the commercial had plagiarized nearly every single frame from about 20 other animations, including the Steven Universe movie, FLCL, some music videos as well as student animation portfolios. Also, never forget the PS3 at E3 2006. RIIIIDG Eraser, Giant Crab, $599 etc. An Italian water brand, Uliveto, paid a famous Italian soccer player, Del Piero, for its commercial, which went live on national television for many years, about how healthy the water is. Turns out Del Piero got kidney stones. Remember when that study on processed meats causing cancer came out the same time as Arby's new slogan, "We have the meats"? I remember that being super cringy. Mercedes and Volvo's auto brake premieres, leaving out some identifying details on purpose. There is a major video game coming out soon that built a large part of their launch campaign around Dr. Disrespect. That's probably not going to end well for the monsieur. Greater than Dr. Disrespect. I'm sorry, slow brain is slow. I don't get it. Dr. Disrespect was, until a few days ago, one of the most popular streamers on Twitch, where he would play a number of games such as PUBG and Fortnite. But after signing a multi-million-dollar deal with the platform, he was banned from the site. His account has been suspended before. Back in E3 2019, he was hit with a 24-hour ban after he and a cameraman walked into a public bathroom at E3, which also got him permanently banned from the event. But fans were being refunded for his monthly subscription, and it quickly made the rounds that he was given a permanent ban. But it's blown up because no one knows why he was banned, as Twitch refuses to say to anyone, including Dr. Disrespect. What game? Hyperscape. Gotta be. Doc had been mentioning how more VR games were coming and that other game companies wanted to enter the market. Then would be like, I better stop talking. But the market for VR is still open and companies want in. Stay tuned. He also had a small sign on one of his backgrounds that said something about prepare for the 29th. Hyperscape launches Friday and has no other fanfare other than leaks. I imagine that they had planned to show off the game on the 29th. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.